So, Andoni Iraola is the new Cherries head coach, and we've got a squad, but is it fit for the system that he plays? Look, we've got a number of players that might fit in, but maybe we need to strengthen in some position. On this video, myself, Sam Davis,
and me, Tom Jordan,
are going to go through the rumours, the conjecture, look through the current squad, see who we might want to get rid of, and maybe see what positions we may need to get people through the door in, mate. It sounds exciting. He plays this fluid brand of football. It's going to be interesting.
Yeah.
High press, plenty of turnovers, winning the ball back in the final third, taking your moments. This season's going to be exciting.
Rock and roll, it sounds like, mate. Yeah, no, really looking forward to it. And yeah, as you say, I think it's going to be really interesting to see who we bring in, who we deem not to be maybe fit into the style that he wants. But yeah, obviously we've just got Clive in at the moment. But obviously everyone that now comes in, we obviously think will fit that style. So that'll be really interesting to see, mate.
So this is the current Cherry squad on screen. As you can see, there are quite a lot of them. And I'm telling you now, not all these names are going to be involved next season. What we're going to do, Tom, is we're going to break it down into the various positions. And we'll start, I suppose, logically with the goalkeepers and then work through towards the forwards. Now, let me just get this straight. A Premier League squad, you're allowed 25 players, is that right? Is that all?
25-man squad, but anyone 21 and under, something to do with the turn of the year, whether you've just turned 21, etc. Don't have to be registered. So you can have, you can have a 35-man squad if 10 of them are under that age. So yeah, and I think we done similar last season, didn't we? Because there was a few in there that will still be under 21 this season. So Zabani, for example, I think with Tara's as well. And yeah, so if we were to bring in, say, someone we're linked with like an Alex Scott, they would be under that. So a lot of teams, well, virtually all teams, I think, have a bigger squad because players are under 21. But yes, 25-man squad of players over 21. And then, you can fiddle around with it because of the age of your squad. And we've always had young players in there, haven't we? So it allows you to have a bit of a bigger squad. And that probably allowed us last season when we rejigged it in January to kind of name players like Brooksy, who ended up coming back, like Stanislas, who unfortunately didn't. But you can name them because there were a few that didn't need to be registered.
So in terms of the goalkeepers then, we've got 4 at the moment. Of course, we know that Will Dennis has gone to Kilmarnock on loan.
That's it, yeah, come on. Yeah.
But Mark Travers, Randolph, Neto, and of course Plain as well. Now, usually there's 3 goalkeepers in the squad, is that right? Usually.
Yeah, you'd say so. And it depends. If you've got like a highly rated youngster, he could be the 3rd and you could only have to register 2. I think we all know, I'd be very surprised if Neto's not the number 1. Yeah. I think he'll stay as number 1 and captain as well. I think it remains to be seen who's going to be as number 2 because I would be perfectly fine. I think we saw on the last day that Travers is a decent understudy. But from Travers' perspective, does he go, actually, I'd rather alone, I'd rather go and play? And if there's someone available that we can allow, I think that would be the ideal scenario, actually, would be Travs. You go to the Championship, go and play football for a season, and we'll bring someone in to come and compete with Neto. But yeah, you don't want to lose out. You don't want to go and spend 20 million quid on someone that's going to compete with Neto, really. So that remains to be seen. We haven't really been linked with a whole host of goalkeepers. So that'll be something that I suppose it'll be whether Iraola decides that, no, I want to keep Travers around. I think he can push Neto. I don't think Randolph... Actually, I forget about that. Could he let Travers go out on loan because he thinks Randolph's good enough for number 2? Yeah. Potentially. So, yeah, I wouldn't expect too much movement in that position, mate.
One of the positions I think there will be movement is our fullback. So we're talking about our wide defenders. Now, we know that Iraola's style relies on the fullbacks to get down the flanks, overloading with the wingers cutting in, crossing from the byline, that kind of thing. And we all know that Adam Smith, as an incredible stalwart he's been over the years for AFC Bournemouth, is not quite that player anymore. Yeah. I think he's a player that will be retained for a squad position, of course, because we know how reliable he can be. However, here we're looking at it now. We've put the 3 as Fredericks, Kelly, and Smith at the moment. Of course, we know we've lost Stacey. Yep. We know that players can often switch around. There are players that are rumoured to be coming into AFC Bournemouth, ones that featured in a Cherry shirt and maybe scored a couple of goals as well, which we'll talk about as well. But yeah, this is a position there needs to be some emphasis on. This position.
Yeah, well, I think we've put, obviously Lloyd Kelly's played in centre half and fullback. We've kind of put him in that fullback role because obviously right now, if we went into season, he would probably have to play left back if we didn't sign any players because we haven't really got anyone. Because obviously we knew the situation last season with Jay-Z and then loan players, but I think Lloyd, we know he can do a job there, but in this system, I would be surprised if he's just starting left back.
So it's always 4-2-3-1 with Iraola, never three at the back, etc.
No, it's very rare that he's gone three at the back.
Okay, well, at least we know what we are.
Yeah, I think there's been more times where he's maybe developed into a 4-4-2, but not really got into a 3, which a few of them players would probably suit a bit more. I think Frederick's an interesting one because obviously he got his injury problems, which is a concern. But as with Smith, he's ageing, and you'd probably say it'd be difficult for him to get up and back. But he is naturally quicker. But I do think fullback, right or left, we need some players. We need some bodies in them positions, at least 2. I would say 1 of each, but you could even make a case to get a couple of left backs in. So yeah, that'd be really. And I think the more we see who he brings in, we'll be able to work out. Okay, does he see Kelly as a fullback or a centre back? Right now, I think he'd be competing more for that left centre back position.
Okay, interesting. So at the end of the show, like I say, any names that we've been linked with, we will go over, because I'm pretty certain that there might be a face through the door that we've seen before. In terms of centre-backs, mate, so we know that Hill was on loan. I think he got hampered by an injury.
Yeah, he started quite well at Hearts.
He did, yeah, and a lot of them were highly rated him, a lot of their fans. But we've got players with a lot of experience centre-back. Of course, as we said, Lloyd Kelly can fit into that position, but Ilya Zabani, Marcus Senesi, Chris Mepham. I think it's going to be another difficult season for Meps.
Yeah, it always. I feel for Meps. We've said this so many times. He's quite decent when he plays, but he always feels like there's a couple ahead of him. But fresh start. Why not? If he can have a really good pre-season, he might like him. I think he's a player that he likes to kind of get up the pitch a bit, and that might fit into him quite well. I think Zabani, obviously, we haven't seen a lot of yet, but we know how highly rated he is. I like Senesi, and I think that just little bits and snippets seen of Iraola's style, I think he likes his centre-halves to be able to kind of play them direct passes at times and then crossfield balls, which I think Senesi's comfortable at doing. I think ideally I can imagine James Hill going out on loan again. I would quite like to see him maybe, if the interest is there, of getting him maybe a loan to the Championship and seeing how he does at that level. Because we signed him from Fleetwood. He didn't really play for us in the Championship. But I
had a minute at Barnsley, didn't he?
Yeah, that's right. But I wouldn't mind to see him at a Championship club and go, all right, because if he can be a top... Because I'll put it this way, if Mepham went to the Championship on loan, he'd be one of the best centre-halves. So could Hill develop into that player? Remains to be seen. But I think Hill got on loan, but apart from that, we might maybe one, but I think, as we say, because Kelly can come in there as well, it's weirdly...
It's not so much of an urgent
No, weirdly, we've seen to address that centre-half, and because we would think that we won't be going with a 3... I think we're in a decent spot there. On
to our midfielders, of course, we can separate these into defensive midfielders. There are some players that can probably do both in terms of attacking as well. But let's go like Kilkenny, who I suppose is more a defensive midfielder. He has been utilised in that kind of number 8 role before. But Kilkenny, obviously been out on loan. I've got a feeling that he may be either out on loan or permanently shunted, maybe.
Yeah, I agree. It's a shame because I think we saw obviously the early signs of the Parker season in the Championship that there's a player there.
Isn't it amazing how we sort of sometimes grow so quickly as a club? There's you have to be in a sweet spot as a player, because otherwise, if you are in Kilkenny's position, sometimes it's just like it's so difficult, and you don't really get a chance to fulfil your potential because the pressure and the stakes in the Premier League are just so high. You don't really get a chance to shine.
Yeah, but equally, I think he got a move to Stoke, which I thought was a good one. I know it was hampered a little bit by injuries, but he couldn't get near it, and then he went out on loan to Charlton in League One, and he couldn't get in. And I'm thinking, how can he? There's something not right there. How can he not get in a League One team?
Certain players do fit certain clubs.
Yeah, weird one.
He was a great fit for us, but...
Yeah, weird one, but I do think if best for him, it'll be a loan, but I can't see him being involved in our Premier League squad, mate, not at all.
And of course, Ben Pearson.
Yeah, I think he'll move on as well. I think Stoke liked him, and I think they'll probably go back in for him, whether it be a loan or a permanent. I do think Stoke might go back in for him. I think there's been little links with Luton.
I do wonder whether he's really ever enjoyed the South Coast.
Yeah, it is a weird one. Obviously, come from Preston and probably hasn't nailed himself into the starting lineup as much as he would have liked. Weirdly, now is probably his best time because he's lost the player in his position in Lerma. But I think either a Stoke in the Championship, I think it'd be great for him. But actually, would a Luton maybe suit him in terms of they're going to be scrapping? Even though I don't think Pearson probably is to the standard, I think if you were a team that was scrapping for relegation, he could be all right in amongst the squad. And he started our first Premier League game back against Villa. So I like Pearson, he never let us down, but I do think he'll move on. but we will keep Lewis Cook.
Yeah, there's a bit of a food chain really when it comes to the midfield because, you can say that Kilkenny and Pearson are the bottom of that. And then Lewis Cook, you can argue that Joe Rothwell is just after him. But I think Lewis Cook, we debated over him in the player rating show in terms of what he gave us last season. There's always potential there. And sometimes we show it, he shows it, there are glimpses of it. And other times he just doesn't do enough. But he'll be there.
He'll be there. He'll be in the squad. He'll be competing again to try and. I think he'll get minutes and he'll be a key member of the squad. I think we've put him because he can play kind of any role in that midfield centrally. We put him in the defensive midfield position because I feel it will be a position that we strengthen because obviously we've lost one of our key men in Jefferson Lerma. But I think Lewis with Iraola will be a player that's used more a little bit deeper. I don't think his output's good enough to be someone that presses hard up the pitch and get them numbers. So I do think he'll be. Rather than being a kind of hard tackling defensive midfield player, I think he's someone that will sit deep and try and play make from a deep line position. So I still think Lewis has got the capabilities, and all it takes sometimes is a player to find a manager that he just clicks with, and suddenly you see the best of him. Yeah. And if Lewis can have an injury-free season, and kind of as I kind of said, but Meps kind of go, this is my chance to get back in the team as a new manager. I could get back in there. So yeah, more than happy to keep Lewis around, mate.
One of the players that I think excelled last season, Joe Rothwell, no doubt about him being involved.
Yeah, no, definitely. He'll be part of the squad again. It'd be really, really interesting to see how he's utilised because I look at the way Iraola likes his midfielders to play and that high press and what we saw, maybe less so in a Bournemouth shirt so far. And I'm not going to criticise Gary for that because I think it was what we needed at the time. We needed to be a little bit more, with Billing in there, Rothwell needed to be a little bit more disciplined. But I do wonder if Iraola gives Rothwell a bit of a licence to bomb on. He did that at Blackburn and he got goals from it.
Well, that's one of the things that we noted in the last video. Part of his style is when he sort of can sense that there's an opportunity there, he will give licence for one of the central midfielders to push on.
Yeah.
And that would be likely to be him, surely.
Yeah, I think so.
We've shown that he can be effective further up the pitch. Plus, for Blackburn, he scored goals, like you said.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I think that's the only thing that's missing at the moment is we haven't seen the numbers from Rothwell, but that was because of how he was utilised. I'll be really, really excited to see him kind of go on, make them late runs into the box because I feel like, and he has proven it, albeit in the Championship, that he's got an eye for goal. So I think that would be something that could be a real good weapon to have if we can add a few more goals from midfield because obviously we've only really had Billing doing that.
And speaking of the attacking midfielder roles, which we'll move on to now, one of the players that's been out on loan, there have been interviews in his native language that suggest that he thinks he'll be at AFC Bournemouth next season, but I'm not so sure. Yeah. Either be loaned out again or probably go permanently. Emiliano Marcondes. Yeah. I can't see him being in the squad. I can't.
No, I can't see it. And also, as we mentioned about the kind of 25-man squad, he would take up a place because of his age. And I can't see, no disrespect, I can't see us using up a spot on ME. As much as he's quite likeable, never lets us down. Yeah. I think, as we've discussed about the high pressing, has he got the legs to do that? Not for me. But is he disciplined enough to be a bit deeper? Not for me. Like him, but I think it is age as well. He should be playing football. He should be playing football. He should be given a license. I actually think if he wanted to stay in England, I think it wouldn't be a bad punt for a Championship side. To be honest with you, I think he's shown that he can pitch in with a few goals and assists, and he's a clever footballer. But yeah, not in the Premier League for me, and not in this style. So I'll be surprised if Emmy's still around.
But one of the players that I think will be, especially now with our new manager, Philip Billing, crucial last season, scored a number of really crucial goals for us. It's amazing how a player has developed from being someone that's been under the cosh in terms of the fan opinion of him to being almost first name on the team sheet week in, week out. And he's been phenomenal for us. And I'm so pleased that for once a Premier League season did not end in relegation for him.
Yeah, definitely.
And hopefully he'll just go on and be even better for Bournemouth. And there have been lots of other fans that said we'd have Billing in a heartbeat. So he's a highly rated player for us, and we need to get him signing a new contract.
Yeah, definitely. I think most Premier League clubs, if you were told to pick a player from Bournemouth to have, you'd pick Phil Billing probably, because he's still a good age as well. But I think he's probably the problem with Billing sometimes is I think because of his size, you think you could play him a bit deeper, but we all know that. What he's like when he can get further forward. He's a top goal scorer for a reason. And I actually look at this style that Iraola will hopefully bring and think it could bring out the best in Phil as well. I think getting close, I think almost at times he'll look like he's virtually alongside Dom, which I think will be great for him given that licence. And he does, we all look at the kind of way he kind of runs around the pitch and you think he's lazy. The numbers suggest otherwise. He does get around the pitch. He does do a lot of high presses. So excited to see what Billing can bring in that role, and I think he'll be crucial.
Elsewhere in these positions, we could put Traore, who had sort of limited time last season. Also, David Brooks, who... It was a difficult season for him. It was difficult, but there were flashes, there were moments, and he's made the Wales squad, which is good, and he's only going to get better again, isn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. I think with Brooksy and Traore, to be fair, both of these players, you can kind of say they could play in a wider area if you needed them to. But I think you and I felt that they're probably best in that kind of a little bit more central attacking midfield role. And Traore, like I say, it's really difficult to judge because we've only seen glimpses, but he's a player that I'm excited about in them glimpses, and I think he's someone that we see long term being quite crucial to us. And I think Brooksy, it's all about fitness for Brooksy, and it's obviously a very specific scenario, Brooksy, because it wasn't just an injury. So, but as you say, mate, we did see little signs, particularly in that last game against Everton, where he burned out, no doubt about it, and that I think what people don't realise is this is his first pre-season, proper pre-season, and that'll be really, really good for him. And a new manager will come in and go, you're fit now, you're back now, I'm not looking at you any different to anyone else. Yes, maybe medically they might be saying, he might burn out a little bit early. I don't know the ins and outs. But I think Brooksy could be a real good part of the squad, because I think if you forget that side of it, you go, he's a bloody good footballer, actually. Really talented footballer.
Really creative. And also in that position, Iraola likes his attacking midfielders to have a lot of freedom. So they pretty much, if they're playing behind Dom, they can go left, they can go right. It's pretty much freedom of the park. And we all know that David Brooks is much better when he's got that role, rather than being tied to a particular flank. So I think he could be a crucial part of Iraola's plans. As for... If we're moving on to the wingers now we know that a lot of these positions are interchangeable from here on in. So a winger can also play as a forward, but there's a couple of players here that I'm looking down the list thinking maybe not. For instance, Jamal Lowe.
Yeah, I think we've put him down as a winger because I think in a Bournemouth shirt he has played more from that kind of right side. As much as he might think he's a striker, I think if he was in, say, the Championship, I think you'd put him up top because he'd score goals and he's done that before. I feel for Jamal because I always think he hasn't really let us down, similar to Emmy, but I don't think he's quite up to the level. We don't want to be relying on him. I think if he were to stay, he'd just be playing in cup games. I think he'd struggle to make the substitutes bench. As I say, I think it was a player in a position that we needed at the time, and he'd done a good job helping us get back to the Premier League. But I don't think he's quite Premier League, and I think he needs to go back to the Championship. I think any Championship club would. I know he went to, it was QPR, went on loan, and I remember he started all right, and then he kind of tailed off, and obviously then they got Ainsworth. I'm not sure if they fancy him, and I know it's a difficult one, but I do think Jamie will move on. I'll be very surprised if he stays at the club. Whether it be a loan that turns into an option to buy for someone, I'm not sure, but I don't think he'll stay here.
I think a few of the players that we've got elsewhere in this position will very much fit the Iraola mould. So we'll go through these quickly, but obviously we got Justin Cliver through the door. Whether he'll be competing or not, I don't know, because they even on the face of it now, that'll be two very competitive flanks, and with potential new names through the door as well. That could be a real strength for us.
Yeah, and we're going off kind of what we know off Cliver, because obviously we haven't actually seen him in a Bournemouth shirt yet. Sounds like he's someone that will be favoured to play off that left hand side on the wing, but it does sound like he's able to kind of move into a forward role if needed. But as you say, mate, it's another player that will give us options in there.
These players also, with his defensive style as well, they will be needed to come back and basically have that mid block as well. Whether he's that player or not, I don't know. I'm sure he's going to learn a lot in the pre-season friendlies about which players are up to the task, which players fit his style. We could be surprised at the players that he picks. We don't know, but we've got options there. Watara's another one, and his numbers last season were great.
Yeah, they were, and I think I've said it. I think the word I've used the most when discussing Watara is raw. He's a raw player, raw talent that I think will be very, very good for us. I think we put a little bit too much on him when he first come in because, like you say, because he pitched him a few numbers, assists early on especially, and he got that memorable goal at Tottenham. But he's a player that, as much as he's very attacking, I even feel that he could move up alongside Dom in games if we needed him to. I do also think he started showing, because of the way O'Neill likes to play as well, that he could help his fullback if needed. So I think that will really fit into what Iraola wants to do. So I think Watara will play a big part, mate, and there's a big pre-season for him.
And will he be part of the squad as an under-21?
Yes, I think he is officially 21, but I think he'll still be. He doesn't need to be registered as far as I'm
so
aware.
Doesn't use up, which is Jaden Anthony.
Yeah, Jaden's one that I think a lot of people, I've seen a lot of fans and stuff, which I get why, because he wasn't playing that much, have kind of said, oh, maybe he'll go out on loan. I disagree, actually. I think that he's a player that's still malleable, that can be moulded into
I like that word, mate, malleable.
I think he could be moulded because he's yet to kind of hit the Premier League heights and he's still a young player. And I think that he will, Iraola will come in and say, and I think he'll kind of go, right, I know what I need to do to get into this team. And as you mentioned, mate, wide man that could press high, he always presses, but equally always helps his fullback.
Yeah, he does the defensive work.
So I think, don't get me wrong, I don't think he's nailed on to start, but I think he'll be part of the squad, and I think he'll, I think he will play a part, and I think he will come in out the side. And I do think that we overlook sometimes. You think of how he wasn't, to me anyway, I don't think he played a massive part in the Premier League. No. Still got goals, he's still got some numbers and some key goals. Yeah. Did he score in both Forest games?
Yeah.
Home and away, I think. And the 1-1 draw at home. I think he got the goal, didn't he?
No, I think it's Kiefer Moore header. Was it Kiefer Moore header?
I think I'm right. We'll check it after the show. But he definitely obviously got the winner at Forest away.
Yeah, he did.
So yeah, I think he's still got numbers there. I think we say sometimes about Christie will come on to as a good example of that, where they're good but they're not getting the goals. Yeah. And he does score goals. So yeah, I think he'll play a part, mate. I do think he'll play a part. It'll be a big season for him and a big pre-season as well.
Also, we've got Tavernier.
Yes.
As well, Marcus Tavernier.
Yeah, definitely got to put him in as a wide man, and as we kind of mentioned, with these kind of roles, there's going to be players that could fill in a number of positions. We've seen Tavernier a bit more centrally. We've seen him as a wing back on the right, on the left. But Tav, when you look at the style that Andoni Iraola wants to play, he is literally exactly what you'd want. He can press high. He's got energy, pace. He'll help his fullback because he's naturally been able to play in a wing back role before. I think if we can keep this boy fit, we all know how how exceptional he is, and how him coming back to fitness was so key. You can almost say pivotal in us staying up. So really excited to see more of Tav, and obviously it'll be
Yeah, okay. And also Siriki Dembele as well, who's a player that when we signed him, we were so excited.
We were. And I think every time we've seen little snippets, we've been excited. But for whatever reason, it hasn't worked. And to be fair, it's not just one manager that hasn't really played him. It was another manager. And then he went on loan in France. And I thought, okay, rip that up. Didn't play all the time.
And
so
I don't think he would fit Iraola's style, certainly when we need to be defending.
Yeah, I don't think he's quite got the... Maybe... what's the word? Maybe the tactical now sometimes. Yeah. I think he's a player that, I think you've said it before, plays off the cuff a little bit. Yeah. Which I think, as fans, you kind of get behind sometimes. You think, oh, you don't know what's going to happen, but just don't think it's going to happen for him here, mate.
Christie.
Yeah, he'll stay. He'll definitely stay. Guy. Yeah, and obviously we've got him as a wide man here, winger, but wouldn't shock me if he went into playing one of them central positions at times as well. He's done it before. But yeah, he showed, didn't he, latter parts of the season, that he still wants to be there, and he still knows that he can play a part. And I think because of his pressing, his energy, I think he will play a part again. Again, I think he'll come in and out of the team, but he's someone that I think Iraola will like the way that he presses and how high energy he is. So yeah, no problem with Christie being in the squad.
I mean, Dom Solanke was pivotal last season. I think hopefully he'll fit Iraola's style. It requires hard work, a lot of hold-up play as well, but also running into the channels at times as well. And Dom Solanke, we know he can do that. He's an all-rounder, isn't he?
Yeah.
Whether we'll need to strengthen this position, me and Tom will come on to it, I'm absolutely certain, but he's one that's definitely going to be involved, isn't he? What a player.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. And I think he's another one that should be excited by this appointment, because I think it will suit him. It will suit him very much because he likes the press, he likes doing all that work. But I think with Parker and with O'Neill, he was isolated a lot. I'd like to think with Iraola's system that we will get bodies up and around him a little bit more, and he won't be quite as isolated, which he'll be delighted by, because I think a lot of the time he has been isolated. So yeah, Dom will have another good season, but hopefully he can add a few more goals to it.
What about Antoine Semenyo?
Yeah, it's a weird one for me, because he fits a kind of Jamal Lowe mould in the sense he can play wide, play out front, he's got a bit of pace, come from the Championship done well. We haven't seen lots of him. Still not sure if he'll ever kind of be to the Premier League level, but he is a lot younger.
Yeah.
He is only early 20s. He will be in the squad for me, and I think he is a player that will press high. And yeah, a big pre-season for him, because can he suddenly get himself in our thoughts? We've got to remember that people like Ryan Christie, for example, we thought, they're done.
Yeah.
And now we're kind of thinking it was Semenyo already. Yeah, let's see what he brings pre-season, because I think he's a player that may suit the sense that there might be games where we go, right, we need someone that gets a lot closer to Dom. Antoine could do that, and he can go wide if we need to. So he'll be in the squad.
One of the things I want to know is what Iraola's plan B is if we ever need to adopt a plan B. Will it be using Kiefer more?
Yeah, interesting that this is the kind of last player.
I don't know about this.
And this is one that I'm really not sure. Yeah. I'm not sure if, and particularly his age as well, I'm not sure if Kiefer will go, I need to be playing, I'm not going to be playing regularly enough because I don't see him playing regularly. I'll go drop down and say the Championship or something and play more. Or if he's happy to be an option and feels he can get into the side. And as you said, mate, does Iraola think he's a decent option because I like crossing the box and he can get on the end of things? I think the latter. I do think he'll start the season as him being that backup. And
I've just been looking at the numbers, doing a rough tot up.
Yeah.
And with more, and obviously this is making sure that Ouattara and Zabani don't use up the numbers.
Yeah.
That's 20.
Okay.
So that's 5 new signings through the door.
That aren't. Then we could get signings in that are under 21 as well.
Yeah, exactly. So
I
think maybe that's it. So shall we go through some of the names that we've been linked with then, Tom?
Yeah, let's do it, mate.
Some are probably more well known to Bournemouth fans than others.
Yeah.
Not least a player that scored against Chelsea at home, scored against Tottenham Hotspur away, mate, and scored against Southampton, although it was disallowed. Matthias Viña. Matthias Viña.
I like him a lot.
I've sensed there's a butt coming.
No, what I was going to say is, I like, you know, as a fan, when you just have a player that you're not thinking kind of tactically, you're just thinking, oh, he's good to watch and he's quite exciting, which was a little bit like Dembele further up the pitch. My butt initially was, he's not going to work with Gary O'Neill. It's not going to suit him at all. He's too offensive-minded. Gary's too pragmatic. He ain't going to play him at left-back.
But under Iraola.
I've suddenly thought, oh, hang on. I think we're going to sign him. I think he'll be our next signing. Don't know, when this video comes out, I think he'll be the next one over the line. I do think we'll go for him. I'll be happy that we go for him, especially now with this system. I think he's obviously left full-back / wing-back, but I do think there'll be games. I think we alluded to the fact that sometimes in play he can go to a 4-4-2. Yeah. He could play left midfield as much as he could play left-back, in my opinion. And we haven't seen a lot of it because of our system. I think he could whip a ball in.
Yeah.
I think Viña will be a good player for us.
And our style under Iraola will rely on some decent crosses into the forward.
Yeah, I think he could suit him, mate. And I think we've seen with Roma obviously getting Cliver in that they kind of need to take some. I think it was something, I don't know all the ins and outs, but I think they needed a certain amount of money by a certain time, Roma, because of their fight. I think they needed like 30 million by July or something like that. Maybe. And we've given them 9.5. We'll probably give them just a little bit more for Viña. We're virtually giving them that money. Yeah. So, I think Viña will come through the door and I'll be very happy for it. Jack
Stevens was on loan with us last season. I just wonder whether he'll be considered as an option to chuck in as just an extra centre-back, maybe.
Yeah, I always thought we wouldn't. Nothing against Stevens, really. I thought he was the defender that we needed at the time. When your back's to the wall, he blocked stuff. I thought he was perfect. But you saw once we were safe, we didn't play him.
Yeah.
And because Gary at the time obviously wanted to play a lot of passing out from the back, which there's no doubt about it. Jack Stevens was the worst at playing out from the back. Yeah. Mepham's more comfortable on the ball. So's Senesi, so's Kelly, so's Zabani.
Could we sign him and then loan him out to Southampton?
Imagine. Now, looking at and seeing snippets that Iraola's he's quite happy for a centre half to be able to just if he needs to, you get the ball up the pitch. Could we look at him as a cheap option to just get in just as if we need him? Maybe. I'm 50-50 on this in terms of he's one of them that if we signed him, I'd go, okay, he'll be a backup. We all know he's a reliable backup. If we don't get him, I'll go, okay, he probably won't going to play anyway. And in terms of will we get him, I'm quite 50-50. I'm not sure. Do you think we will?
I don't know. I'm 50-50.
Yeah.
But you know what? An option, and it sounds like he's keen on the move if there is one.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised because, he's obviously lived down this way. He's kind of, if he's got the choice of the two South Coast clubs, he's going to want to pick the one that are in the Premier League, which obviously is ourselves.
Right, let's switch positions. We're going to go randomly through these positions. I've heard of this name before. Danjuma.
Oh, God, what do I say about Danjuma?
Some Bournemouth fans on Twitter think it's done. They're convinced. He put out that kind of little teaser of him in the training top, like,
come and get me, play, won't it?
Yeah, Tom, you'll be deleting a load of tweets. It's fine, but what incredible option to have.
Yeah, I'm going to do this in kind of like two segments in my head. So let's imagine we're getting him in.
Yeah.
Danju Magic, sprinkle that all over me. What a joy to watch. Love his confidence, his arrogance. Love that. Maybe a little bit luxury, but he does stuff out of nowhere. He can win you a game. Yeah. We saw that, albeit in the Championship. He's playing in La Liga, so Iraola would have seen him up close. Yeah, I think he's a top talented footballer. So
scored Premier League goals. Celebrated too much, but it's fine.
It's fine. Absolutely buzzing if we got him over the door. He's arrogant. All right. I don't know if I want him in the dressing room. Don't know if he's got the discipline to help backwards. So, and that's my two things where I just don't. And again, I'm like that. He's one of them. I said it to you off air. Like I just said that, if we sign him, I'll go, you know what, he's fun, isn't he? Yeah, if this coach can get the best out of him, brilliant. He's, and it will all be taken with a pinch of salt than what he's like. If we don't get him and he goes elsewhere, we go, I don't care anyway.
Not that he's got to win Bournemouth fans over, but I sense he'll have to try extra hard. And look, with the amount of attacking talent that we could and should have when we start the season, he's not going to be a shoo-in to that position. He really isn't.
I think in the sense that if we were to sign him, I've said it a few times here, as with Kluivert, they're kind of wingers that are happy to play up front, which I think Danjuma could do. He's shown that in La Liga particularly, where he's played through the middle. And I think...
So maybe takes the edge off us needing a striker. Eh?
Yeah, that's what I think, because he can do that role. It's similarly to like Semenyo on the other side can come in. I think what I will say is that I think it's been well documented that he'd have got more money if he come on loan to Bournemouth than Tottenham. We were willing to, because we were more desperate than Tottenham at the time because they were just not really going to do anything. I know they were trying to get Europe. So it wasn't for money. I think it's just Arnie thinks, I want to be playing in Europe. I want to be a bigger football club. Blah, 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 which is what it is. But if he doesn't sign, then he's an idiot anyway.
Yeah, exactly. So a few names that you may not know of, so we'll just go through these. Of course, you know all about Gonzalo Platame, Real Valladolid.
Yes, they actually got relegated, so that's probably why our interest and inquiries have been there. I did actually weirdly, so I think it was more because in the World Cup, Qatar's first game was Ecuador, so it was first game of the World Cup, so you want to watch it. And Ecuador smashed them because Qatar were useless. But he was one of their better players. He kind of played off the right-hand side, left-footed, I believe.
And is this just Twitter conjecture? Is this rumour, or are there any serious names behind this name?
I think there has been a few, because I think he was one in January, and I think he's come out and said, I'm open to going because they've got relegated. Yeah. But equally, when you say with that, you go, if he's one of their top players and they've got relegated, he hasn't had a great season, has he? But he's one that... I'd still be surprised because I think he's a winger that comes in. We've got a lot of them as we've gone into and signed Kluivert. So, but if we got him, the very little I've seen of him, I've quite liked him. But I can't pretend to know loads about him. But Ecuadorian, we've got a few from South America now. Quite like their kit. Happy to get one of them. I have to replace the Colombian one. So yeah,
we seem to be knocking on Europe's door quite a lot. Actually,
knock. Who's
Europe.
Europe who?
No, Europe who. Alvaro Garcia.
You just cut me singing "Knocking on Europe's Doors" for that. Alvaro Garcia, he's a Vallecano, isn't he?
So, obviously, knows Iraola.
Yeah.
How old is he?
He's a bit older and he's 30.
Right.
Oh, I say that, he's younger than me. Oh. But I wonder if that's just I say lazy, I'm not trying to be harsh.
I was about to say that.
There's going to be a few links of Vallecano players. He's probably one of them. I'd be very surprised if a 30-year-old come over to be a backup to Solanke, but who knows, because he has worked with Iraola. But I think if he was going to bring someone from Vallecano, I'd be surprised if it's a 30-year-old striker.
Speaking of lazy links, Jorge de Frutos, or Jorge
De Frutos.
Jorge de Frutos.
Yeah, George. George de Frutos. Yeah, I think Levante in that he's at.
Yeah.
Which we signed Jefferson Lerma from Levante, so I'm in. I'm already in. If we signed him, and he was brilliant, by the way, I'm Levante and my boys. But I think what people are not looking at is that he did have a loan at Vallecano.
Okay, so that's another link there.
So that might be the link. He's only 26, but he's more of a winger. So, again, I think that's probably similar to the Garcia one, maybe just a lazy rumour because of the Vallecano link.
Can't we have a British link for once?
Yeah, of course.
Go on.
The Guernsey Grealish, mate.
Who?
Alex Scott.
Alex Scott,
Yeah.
Bristol City?
Yeah, Bristol City. I know there's loads of clubs. He's that highly rated mid. He's probably the highly rated player in the Championship at the moment.
Yeah.
That I think it's because of the club he's at. No disrespect to Bristol City. You don't see them. I know we all know what the Championship's like, and we would have said the same for Luton, to be fair. You don't see them being a team that will come straight up.
No.
So you wonder if he might now look at making the move. Still young, wouldn't have to be registered. It would depend. It would depend because we got. I mean, I know it was cheaper, but at the time we got Lewis Cook when we thought he might go higher.
Yeah.
I know West Ham, and I still in my head, I'm going, if West Ham are linked, if they get the Rice money, that might be a bit London as well. That might fit in, but who knows? Equally, you can look at the young players we've got at Bournemouth, new manager, high energy kind of style. He might feel personally, if he's got the pick, that might suit him. Who knows? I would be excited if we got him, because the bits I've seen, I think he's a talent. I think he's someone that will play for England. He will play for England, in my opinion. Will we get him? I'm not sure, because I just think there's too many clubs after him, and it would take. It might be one of them. We're all going 25 million, but if they get the Rice money, West Ham might go, we'll pay 30 then. And it's not sure, but I would love it if we got him.
Tajani, the Alkmaar reindeer, scored lots of goals. I'm working on it. I don't know. Tajani Reinders. He's Dutch, isn't he?
He is Dutch.
Alkmaar.
Yeah. Bit more of a box-to-box centre midfield player, I believe. From what I've read, I haven't seen much of him at all.
Yes, he scored like 9 goals in one of his seasons.
It'd be interesting to hear from Keith Thomas, who obviously been on the channel a lot of times, because I know he likes his Dutch football, and Alkmaar's his team, and he's been one that I've seen a few links from different little sources, so I don't know if that's because he maybe potentially wants to move on, not sure, but obviously we need a few in that centre midfield position, so can't act like I know loads about him, but if we start getting more heavy links, I'll certainly look into it in more detail, but he's not the only one from Alkmaar.
Go on.
Milos Kerkez, who's the left back. And I always said at the start, my ideal in terms of what I kind of know of would be Vina and Kerkez. That'd be ideal for me, for your left back.
But then Lloyd Kelly can do that if we wanted to.
He can, but I would like, this is just personal preference, I think Zabani's your main man. I'd like Senesi and Kelly. Imagine them two competing. Imagine your right side two, Mepham and Zabani, and then your left side two of Senesi and Kelly. And then your left backs, you've got Kerkez and Vina. I love that. And I've only seen bits, but he's only 19. Again, wouldn't have to be registered. The fear for me is I've seen heavy links with Benfica. So he may go there, not sure. But Kerkez we've been linked with prior, so maybe there is something genuine there. But I do like what I've seen.
Maybe that's wide of the mark. One that is probably wide of the mark is Dennis Zakaria.
Yeah, I saw it and thought, I like that, just because he can be a little bit more defensive, fits the Lerma mould.
I think Alex Crook said that he was wide of the mark.
He said that's probably wide of the mark. He was on loan at Chelsea, wasn't he? He's someone that I would like, just because he's been there and done that, and bits I've seen I like. But again, it sounds like that was probably one that's wide of the mark, but who knows?
Ronnie Edwards. That's Championship, is it? Or was that League One? Is that Peterborough?
Yeah, Peterborough, so League One now.
They're League One, aren't they?
Yeah, they went down, didn't they? He was at them in the Championship, and then they just failed to come back up via the playoffs.
Of course they did.
Again, only young. I think they were looking at kind of £7.5 million, which mad for League One, but that's kind of a bargain these days. I think Palace were another team linked. But again, that's kind of where we're looking at. We just mentioned 4 there in terms of Kelly, Senesi, Zabani, Mepham. And then we're going, do we go down the safe kind of Stevens route? Or do we give Hill a chance to be the 5th choice? Or do we get a young player in that we can develop? I wonder if Edwards, you could tie him in, because you go, he's more for the future. So we'll have him, and you can have him for a season. Back on loan, maybe. I don't know. But he's someone that I know is highly rated, but haven't seen an awful lot of. A few clubs linked, so don't know how legit it is.
And what about Robin Gosens?
Yeah, I think he's late 20s. I saw him at a World Cup or Euros. I thought he was bloody brilliant as kind of left wing back. He has been linked before. I do feel like it would be him or Vina, so I'm starting to feel like it will be Vina, because I think he was linked on loan before we got Vina. So, but it's kind of heightened again because we haven't got Vina over the door. It looks like maybe Union Berlin might be getting him in. But he's certainly someone, if we got him, I'd be excited, because the little bits I have seen, quite like him. He's been in the Germany squad, mate. But yeah, I don't think we'll get him in the end.
No. Bright Osei Samuel, he's where at Fenerbahce, but he was in the UK playing for...
Yeah, he was at QPR, wasn't he?
QPR.
Kind of come through, I think, at QPR.
About 25.
Yeah, and I think he kind of played more as a wide midfielder, winger, and then he went to Fenerbahce in Turkey, and they've developed him more as a right back, which obviously we know... It's interesting because we know how much we probably need a right back, and we haven't really said any yet.
No.
So that could be one that we look at again. I think we've looked at him previously. So that would be one that would excite me, because he's a right back that likes to get forward and has played hard at the pitch before, which is kind of what we're talking about.
Yeah, we do need that.
So he could be one that we go for. But again, that's been a link in the past. Whether it will come to fruition again, I think Osei Samuel himself has said that he's looking to move on. So
there's been some loose links as well with Leeds. Loose links with Leeds. Somerville, who scored the winner against us.
Oh yeah, he did,
in
didn't
that
he?
4-3.
I tell you what, I like his name.
He scored against Liverpool as well. Previous to that.
Crescencio Somerville. That's a great name.
What a great name.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if he came here. I think he's still young, so he'll either stay at Leeds and develop, or he could potentially go higher if he were to make the move. But we have seen a few links there that we're apparently interested. If we got him, I'd be excited because I like him. But again, young wide player, we've got a few of them. He wouldn't be guaranteed a start, so I'd be surprised.
And also Sacha Boey as well.
Yeah, another one going into that right back role, and another one that's playing in Turkey. He's at Galatasaray.
What nationality is he?
He's French.
Okay.
I believe he's played at kind of under 20 level at France, which you know mug if you've done that. Only 22. Another one that, as I say, plays in Turkey, right back, will bomb on. We do need a right back in my opinion, so him or Asai Samuel, wouldn't be surprised if one of them maybe comes through the door, or we look elsewhere. We definitely need a right back, so don't know an awful lot about him, but he seems to fit the mould of what we need currently.
So those are the names that have been sort of linked with us. I tell you what, if you've heard any other names, put them in the comments. Let us know where you've seen them and give your own rating out of 10 in terms of how realistic this player is to sign us. Because we see so much, and that's the reason I'm not using Twitter as much over the summer, because there's so much crap that goes on.
You don't know what's legit.
You don't know what's legit.
And I think also a lot of these rumours have obviously come in, and then we've changed manager. You don't know, he might veto a few, or he might have a few more ideas, and etc, etc. So yeah, there might be some names that come out that we haven't heard yet, but few in there that I think would be good. I certainly think at least one or two of them that we've mentioned, maybe not more, will come through the door. But most of them I'm quite excited about, and it's the type of player that I'm really intrigued to see what we bring in. Because if he goes and brings like Vina in, like we said, one that we maybe expect, you go, that's what he wants from his fullback, and then you could start going, so what does he want on the right side? Be really interesting, mate. But it's exciting times.
It's exciting times. So yeah, Tom, it's been a pleasure to go through the current squad and the transfer rumours with you. I'm sure we'll be doing this again very, very soon. Thank you for watching. We truly appreciate it. Make sure you do a couple of things. Use those thumbs, press the thumbs up, and also big red button subscribe. We truly appreciate it.
Thank you very much. We'll just keep trying to get the content out, don't we? Even though it's pre-season, try to have a little bit of a break, but then all the rumours come through, new gaffer, and I'm already like, let's just go for it. Bring it on.
Other chairs. See you in the next one.
Bye. We've got Iraola. We've got...
That's what it should be. Iraola.
Because he is Guardiola anyway, isn't he?
Iraola.
He's Guardiola part 2 anyway.